Welcome to my presentation on evaluation in participatory design, the whys and the nots. My name is Quynh Nguyen from the Center for Technology Experience of the AIT Austrian Institute of Technology. I speak to you today, and as always, as a child of Vietnamese refugees who fled after the Vietnam War to Germany. Vietnam has a fraught history of colonialization by the French, but growing up in the diaspora, I never experienced the negative impacts of it myself. Instead, I benefit in many ways from the prosperity of the countries I have grown up in and currently live in, Germany and Austria. I'm continuously realizing and reflecting the extent to which my views and beliefs are shaped by my cultural and personal experiences. Some aspects, like whose voices are heard in science and society, I've already questioned from my perspective as a Vietnamese German woman. But I'm discovering many others, like the question of whose knowledge is privileged or even considered to be knowledge, and aim to let these continue to shape my future research. So I'm truly thankful for the opportunity the acknowledgement of country has given me by providing the space to reflect on my positionality as a researcher and, more importantly, as a person. As such, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, skies, and waters, give respect to all First Nations members, and thank the wisdom and strength of Indigenous elders before, now, and into the future. Today, I want to speak to you about systematic evaluation and PD. The practice of PD has expanded to various applications outside of its original political goal of workplace emancipation. It is also becoming a more common, pragmatic practice to integrate participants in the design and development of new technologies. As the most comprehensive literature review on evaluation in PD by Bossen et al. In 2016 found, the process of evaluation in participatory design is not yet very well established. This is one of the weaknesses of PD, because it makes it difficult to assess whether PD projects have achieved their central goals or show the impact participation has on design or outcomes of design. The intention behind this paper was therefore to put a spotlight on systematic evaluation in PD. To do so, it first discusses how systematic evaluation may positively impact and address some of the internal struggles of PD. Second, it intends to start a conversation with the PD community on why such evaluations are so rarely done currently. Third, it aims to provide hypotheses on why systematic evaluation is not a common practice in PD and begin a discussion about these factors. Fourth, it invites a rethinking of what evaluation may mean for PD practices and a reflection of our own views and relationship with evaluation as part of scientific practice. To do so, I present some reasons for doing systematic evaluation in PD, the whys, as well as some hypotheses on why evaluation is not common in PD yet, the nots. This presentation does not exhaustively describe all possible whys and nots, and neither does the full paper. However, I hope it gives food for thought and kickstarts a conversation and rethinking. I want to emphasize that I do not posit any specific type of evaluation as the correct one. Particularly, this is not an attempt to view PD through a positivistic mindset. Systematic evaluation in PD should acknowledge the practice's situatedness and be conducted in a way that fits ontologies, epistemologies, and cosmologies of the given PD project. The first why I want to draw your attention to is that the lack of evaluation in PD has been hindering the reuse and building on of existing knowledge, because it is not clear whether and which parts of knowledge are generalizable or situated, and why. As Bodka and Iverson in 2002 have argued, reflection in action and off-loop reflection define expertise in PD, allowing researchers and practitioners to conduct systematic work beyond unstructured and ad hoc design analysis and decisions. While this reflection can happen without a systematic evaluation, formalizing it would make it easier to integrate into the practice, especially for beginners in PD work. Moreover, evaluations can make design decisions tangible and understandable from the outside, hence improving PD practices. This would also facilitate PD practitioners to share deeper knowledge of doing PD. The second why I'm presenting here I've termed outside the bubble. So, the lack of systematic and explicit evaluations is frequently criticized within the field. This has made it difficult to communicate the benefits and harms of PD research outside our bubble to other scientific fields, technology developers or other clients, and the public generally. By documenting realized benefits and impact of PD work, systematic evaluations may pave the way for recognition from management and acknowledge its needs to communicate itself to society. The question is, therefore, does the lack of mature systematic evaluation make PD a less attractive or sensible design process? Do we need to provide more validity to external stakeholders of our PD research and work? Following now are two hypotheses for why evaluation has not been established in PD yet. First, let's take a look at the overhead of evaluation. So, evaluation is already established in various scientific disciplines, mirroring trends in scientific and societal practice towards reflexive modernity and new public management. But there are good reasons against evaluations when they are unnecessary or ill-reasoned. In what is often called the audit society, criteria for evaluation are usually related to costs, project outcomes, and adherence to project timelines. The primary reason to evaluate projects is thus for reasons of control and accountability, rather than for intentions such as strengthening and deepening knowledge. Evaluation may thus be considered additional tedious work rather than providing meaningful inputs for those involved in PD work, and might have caused evaluation fatigue and cynicism. Another reason for the lack of evaluation may be the complexity and the amount of work required when conducting a PD evaluation. Challenges to how PD should be conducted and viewed make the issue of evaluation all the more complex. For example, Light and Ackermann in 2012 put a spotlight on the role of facilitation in designing with communities, arguing that PD methods are strongly connected and embodied by the practitioner. And Pikala and Karashdi in 2016 proposed a reflexive orientation towards engaging in design, to take part in the situatedness of design while holding onto the ethical, political, and creative ideals of PD. Taking these and many other relevant aspects of PD work into consideration for an evaluation may make it too complex to address in a feasible process. These notes I have presented exemplify some of the challenges for future PD. Solutions to these will be complex, transdisciplinary, and immensely difficult to achieve. Some of them require larger systematic awareness and change. However, a first step in addressing the challenges is to make them visible in everyday PD practices. Only if we speak about them in explicit terms can we systematically address them in our doing, and only then can other people, the PD community, other scientific fields, and the general public understand these challenges. Evaluation is one generally established tool to turn these internal processes inside out, to shape the practice of PD within, and to communicate the PD process to the outside. The intention of this paper was to put the spotlight on the reasons why we should conduct systematic and explicit evaluations of PD work. First, as a way to increase the possibility to achieve the lofty goals of idealistic PD, such as democratic technology development, mutual learning, and empowerment of those that are affected by the technologies. Second, to position PD as a valid method for interdisciplinary research in response to the requirements and expectations that modern society has of research. And third, as a way to improve PD practices by making the goals and the extent to which the goals are reached explicit in PD projects. I want to repeat again that any assessment of PD should reflect its foundation and integrate its relevant ontologies, epistemologies, and cosmologies. Importantly, we might have to consider new alternative pathways for conveying evaluation. For example, outside of the main body of a paper, we could add conducted evaluations explicitly to an appendix or contribute evaluations in short paper formats. Concerning the question of why evaluation has not become a part of the PD tradition as of yet, this paper only lays out first conjectures and ruminations. The paper is as much an opinion piece on evaluation in PD as it is an invitation to the community to find and discuss answers to the topic. As such, objections and additions are welcomed. I hope that this work aids in catalyzing a richer discourse within the PD community on the evaluation of PD. With this in mind, I'm looking forward to discussing my paper with you, online or in person. Danke, Gamong, and thank you.